Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Sevendust, Truth Killer, out July 28th on Napalm Records. This album has 12 tracks, 49 minutes in length, and this is the band's 14th full-length studio record. They are an American rock metal band. I was surprised with this album from a design standpoint. Not shocked, but surprised. The way the album starts with I Might Let the Devil Win wasn't necessarily the prototypical song to get a record going. I honestly felt like maybe Won't Stop the Bleeding would be a better track to get things started because it's definitely a more aggressive track, it's a heavier track, and it's always nice to start with that kind of emphasis and then allow the mood to have some dips as you progress. Not the style, not the design for the record, but let's face it, 12 tracks, all of them could be singles. It's very difficult to put a track listing together that gives emphasis at the right times in the right moments. This album just has a lot of quality, and once you get over the hump that the record starts off in a more mellow, introspective mood, everything else is exactly what you would expect from the band. The album's design represents the diversity of its sound, and it's an album that creates a roller coaster ride style experience from the first all the way to the last. As far as that sound is concerned, I want to start off by talking about the production, because this album has great production. This band has a DNA essence to them. So when you press play on a track, you know you're listening to Sevendust. This album doesn't break that mold. It continues with that. It continues to refine it. So it's an album that definitely fits with the style, with the experience that you would come to expect from this band. It just emphasizes it a little bit better. I feel like this is an album that breathes a little bit better, has more room to breathe, perhaps more layers, more texture, but better defined within those layers and within that texture, allowing things to feel simple at times and allowing the listener to feel fully engaged with the experience, fully engaged with the songs. It takes you a little bit deeper into the tracks, allowing the lyrical content and how that lyrical content is delivered to have a much deeper impact. It's an album that just has a lot of great quality regardless of where you're looking at. But you can only bring that great quality to the forefront if you have the right production behind it that emphasizes all the right nuances within the soundscape and within the individual song experiences from track to track. Now, this is not necessarily a guitar-centric record. I wouldn't go as far as to call it that, but the guitars play an important role in the overall experience. They are one of the key factors, if you will. And you're going to see them with a lot of duality. They're going to be melancholic, they're going to be heavy, they're going to be melodic, they're going to be driven, they're going to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more introspective, they're going to be a little bit more outgoing, if you will. There's a lot of different faces in the songs, the DNA of the songs and the DNA of the atmosphere of the songs, a lot of the times is driven by the mood, the experience that the guitars put forward. I felt like this was a very guitar-rich sounding album, not just because of the diversity, but also because of the experience that they offer, how much depth it exists within the guitar sound, and how the guitars are working with one another, sometimes providing a little bit more thickness, a little bit more heaviness on one hand, and the exact same hand on a separate lane, driving a little bit more melody to the heart of the song. Interesting elements that combine extremely well, and that are combined extremely well from track to track. And this is an album that guitar wise definitely infuses consistent heaviness throughout the entire experience. And this is not to say that this is a heavy record from start to end, because it's not. There's a lot of diversity, there's a lot of different genres coming in and influencing where these songs are going, but the songs that feel heavy are heavy. And even the ones that are not heavy necessarily from a guitar sound point of view, they're heavy in other ways, in an emotional way, and the lyrical content and how much weight that carries, and then obviously in the overall performance of the track itself. But it's definitely an album that allows the guitars to have a little bit more room to breathe, a little bit more room to work its magic, and the diversity of the sound is definitely connected to the diversity of the guitar execution. As far as the drums goes, the drums also have a lot of depth and they also sound very rich. I felt like they were the perfect partner for the overall guitar sound on this album. I like a drum sound on an album like this that doesn't feel hollow, that doesn't feel like it stays in one place. When I'm listening to the drums on this record, they always feel like they're stretching out the limits of the songs. If you put a song within the box, the drums are expanding that perimeter of what that box needs to be. And that's an important element because it doesn't necessarily add consistent aggression or consistent heaviness or consistent power to how the songs come across, but impacts them in a different way by making them feel a lot more complete, by making them feel a lot bigger. And when the songs are heavy, the drums are also helping the guitars define what that heaviness is all about. Vocally, it's one of those records that it just has so much to offer. The emotion of this album, and I feel like this is a very emotionally driven record. At least the vocal performance gives you that impression of being very emotionally connected. And that adds quality. It adds quality to the lyrical content. It adds quality to the songs because the vocals become the exteriorization of everything the music is hiding. And this album definitely showcases that element of the band, really connecting the dots between what the sound makes you feel and then what the lyrics confirm that you're feeling. Extremely important to have everything firing on all cylinders. As far as the overall big picture of this record, I honestly feel like this is a all killer, no filler style album. You can argue that the track listing, it may not be necessarily what you would expect. Like I said, starting off with I Might Let the Devil Win is not necessarily your prototypical opening track, and it took me a little bit to get over that fact, but you cannot deny the quality of all 12 songs, regardless of the order. That is something that it's there, that it's something that allows this album, in my humble opinion, to be one of the best, if not the best album that they've released in the last 10 years. It just has a lot of quality, and the sound and the execution and the overall heaviness and presence of the songs, a lot of memorable tracks, a lot of bangers on this album. Definitely one of those that's going to stay in high rotation with fans of Sevendust. As far as favorite tracks are concerned, even though I've been kind of harping on I Might Let the Devil Win, which is the opening track, it's definitely one of my favorite songs on the album because there's no other song that brings the mood to this point. There's no other song that's this introspective. There's no other song that offers this sort of melancholy and melody at the same time, really stripped down at times and then gaining volume as it progresses, as it reaches the end. Vocally and musically, it's really well combined. Both of them very warm in its perspective, very warm in its texture, very warm in terms of what it offers. This song has a great atmosphere surrounding it, and then allowing the last third of the track to be a little bit bigger, not necessarily heavier, but just bigger in volume, really takes the song into a different direction and doesn't allow the track to stay consistent from start to finish, which is important for a track that starts this deep, that feels this mellow, this melancholic within itself. Next you have You Won't Stop the Bleeding. This to me felt like it should have been an opening track. I'm actually surprised that this is not even one of the first singles. It's just a heavy guitar driven song. It's a heavy song, never mind the guitars. The drums complement that heaviness extremely well. It still has a melodic chorus that allows a break between that heaviness of the verses and then more an explosive chorus, using some layers in the vocals in that chorus, adds size to how the vocals come across and matches the energy that the sound has. That explosiveness comes together both musically and vocally. But like I said, a very consistently heavy song in the verses, which overall gives a consistent feel of heaviness all around. I love the vocals, I love the sound. It has a great solo, and that solo really complements well the track. It completes it because it adds another flair outside of what you were getting within the chorus. It's just a representation of the chorus from a guitar standpoint, and that really puts an exclamation mark on this song. Last but definitely not least, Superficial Drug. The electronic elements in the keys on this song laid the groundwork. I would say that's the foundation of this track sound-wise, and that foundation, while perhaps a little bit more noticeable and a little bit more in the forefront as the song starts, it still keeps its shape all the way towards the end. It's just then you have the drums coming in, the bass comes in, and then obviously the vocals sound very warm, and they sound very warm even before the guitars come in, with a little bit more bite, infusing a little bit more sound into the overall perspective of what this track is all about. It has an explosive chorus. It allows that to set itself differently from the way the verses come in, but the DNA of the song stays consistent with that inner layer that started off the track, and it stays within it. It stays as a layer within the song, within the sound, and everything else is just kind of adding itself and moving away from it as the song progresses. There's a lot of movement around it, but that middle portion there stays very firm and close to home. And that makes the song feel very textured, very layered, a very appealing track because of that perspective, because you could see what the spinal cord of the song is from the start, and that spinal cord doesn't really change that much. It's just about what you can add to it in order to make the song grow, in order for the song to become something a little bit bigger, a little bit different, but never really deviating too far from the beaten path. This is it, Sevendust, Truth Killer, out July 28th on Napalm Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all at the next video.